Oh, that's it. In New Haven.
I think I'm gonna get.
Bronx science was one of the most important parts of my life. And I want to thank all of you, even though my eyes are bad, I can't recognize you. I want to thank all of you because you all had a strong influence in making me who I was. I learned how to be excited about everything. I learned how to talk to girls. I learned how, but we were a very enthusiastic, idealistic bunch, very idealistic. And I hope that we all have maintained at least some of it in spite of the harsh realities of existence. I became interested in medicine, went into medicine, and I kept going towards what was most puzzling that I couldn't understand. So I ended up in psychiatry and had a wonderful career in psychiatry, but that is the aspect of medicine, biology, and science that I understand least. But nevertheless, that's where I ended up. I have the extreme good fortune to have been married not once but twice to wonderful women, one of whom died, and one of whom is right here now, my wife Ricky, who you should all meet. And right now my pronoun is it, and my job description is grandpa. And that's my main activity right now.
Like many of you, I was a son of immigrants. Like many of you, I grew up in the Bronx without any kind of veneer of sophistication or civilization. I went to school young. I graduated younger. I was 16 and a half. But my mother had ambitions for me, and I guess no time to push me out, so I went to summer school and came into your class, and I served 3 years in the Army in Judge Advocate, 2 years teaching at the Judge Advocate School in the University of Virginia, a year in Korea. I practiced for 38 years with a large law firm, Strickland Levin. I became fortunate enough to become a United States District Judge, and I've served 26 years as the United States District Judge. I'm still active. I'm a senior judge, which means I can take fewer cases, but the fewer cases occupy all of my time. And some of them have been noteworthy and been reported. Others just as interesting. Yesterday, I had a case, someone who had served his term, a long term, for narcotics distribution, and he had violated the probation. He had continued to have drugs. So it came before me, and the probation department and the U.S. attorney recommended that he be sent to jail. The jail didn't do very much for him, nor did it do for society, and we found a way that he would have a chance to rehabilitate himself into a productive life. It's my job and the job of my colleagues to interpret and protect and advance the rule of law. We appreciated, as many of us were Jewish, that this was an enormously great country for us because the rule of law applied to everybody. Everyone had equal protection. It's my job as a judge to make that clear and to do it. The challenge of doing it every day is an extremely difficult and exhilarating one. But science gave me an opportunity to exercise my mind and to be aware of so many different areas of knowledge and to be excited by those areas of knowledge. So I'm eternally grateful to science. My wife of 54 years died in 2017 of Alzheimer's. She had been sick for 10 years, maybe longer. She was a brilliant woman, also a graduate of Bronx Science, class of 54. Probably the saddest thing of my life to see brilliant mind that she had deteriorate. But we're fortunate to have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and 8 great-grandchildren. With the age of a cane, I'm still on my legs, and I hope to keep going.
I too accelerated. I was meant to be a member of the 51 class, but somehow I felt it would be better to graduate in June. I loved going to science. It opened up a wonderful world for me, and most of all, I admired my teachers. And I admired them to the degree that I wanted to become a high school teacher, which I was fortunate enough to do. And I went to NYU, and for a number of years, I was a high school bio and chem teacher. And when I retired, I decided to indulge myself completely, because I grew up on the Upper West Side, and I loved the Museum of Natural History. And I decided I'm going to volunteer there. And I was very lucky, since I had a science background and I was familiar with the high school regents. You never know what little shtick can help you along. And I was a member of the staff of seminars on science. My second career was teaching evolution online. And on the personal side, I married an engineer, and I have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren, and I asked my grandson to be my date for this, Benjamin Bertin.
So Mickey, after finishing Bronx Science, went on to Barnard, and then when she was just graduated, married David, and very much to her surprise, was pregnant within a month. So then she went on to...
Who was David?
David Weller was her husband.
Yes.
Was he from science?
No.
He was not. They met, he was at Columbia. Her parents were, her father was a pathologist at Mount Sinai and connected somewhat with Columbia, and she was pressured to become the secretary for the Japan-America Society at Columbia, and David was the president, I guess, and so that's how they connected. And then she got into teaching gifted students and tutoring, and ran the math tutoring program and the careers program at Burlington County College in southern New Jersey. She did that for 26 years. David passed early, so that was 1980. So she managed by herself all these years, which was amazing. So she had Robin initially, and then Paul, my husband, 7 years later, just the 2 of them. And now there are 3 grandchildren, my 2 and Robin's 1. And they're in their late 20s and 30s.
Great.
So
Thank you.
no grades yet, no grades.
Basically, I went to science because my best friend went to science, and I came from and they said if you become a bookkeeper, you can always get a job. So I followed my friend George Claffey into Bronx Science. I graduated Bronx Science, and I went to CCNY Baruch School at the time. I was only one of 2 people to go to Baruch School, and I became certified. So then I worked for the New York Stock Exchange. I liked that, and I spent 28 years at the New York Stock Exchange. And in the area of finance, I developed a major financial system that they use to this day for regulation and to have the best regulation. And then when since then, I've been a consultant for the State Department, going to Russia and setting up a stock exchange in Russia, which, as we know, is not working out too well. But a lot of billionaires in Russia. Yeah, it worked out well for them. And I went to Thailand and worked building up or improving the stock exchange for Thailand. I left at 58. My life basically has never been knowing where I'm going. Right now, I'm a trustee of B'nai B'rith of CCMY. They include 5 college, and anti-Semitism is rampant on all the campuses, and everybody should know that. My daughter went to science. She became a neurologist. We only have one kid, one grandchild, and still at 92, I'm still looking for my bucket list and to see how I can help mankind.
I went to a small liberal arts college after Bronx Science, which had nothing to do with scientific thought. But
What was the name of the college?
Bronx Science opened up to me a whole new world that I hadn't considered before. And finally, when I'm in business, I was in the contract packaging business, and one of my jobs was to figure out machinery to accomplish certain tasks. And my Bronx Science training came in very handy. So I'm always grateful for that. And it is just great to see you all here at this age. And I just want to tell you a little anecdote. We are going to take a trip to France in the fall, and I decided that I better brush up on my French. So I went to Duolingo on the Duolingo app, and I was filling it out. And one of the items that you had to fill in, they would not pass it unless you put your age in. So I wrote 92, and it came up immediately. It came up. Tell us your real age. So anyhow, it's really great to be with you and see you all in pretty good health. Thanks for coming.
My parents lived right after they got married. They lived for a little bit in Westchester, and then they moved to the suburbs of New Jersey, Bergen County and Englewood Cliffs, and that's where they raised for the last 16 years of my mom's life. She lived in Clearwater, Florida, and that's where she passed away 2 months ago. My mom was a smart lady, and she talked very highly of all her memories of Bronx Science, and she liked to do the Zooms during COVID. But I know when I would call her, she'd say, "Oh, I've got a Bronx Science Zoom," and she liked to catch up with everyone and see everyone. So I'm just glad I was able to be here kind of in her memory. And
Yes.
So many of you look fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing what you're doing, and maybe we'll see you all in 5 more years at the 80, if God will.
I loved Bronx Science. It was pivotal in my life. It was my second great interest. I had a head start in music. I was struck by my mother's mother, who played the piano very nicely as a young lady, and I wanted to play. I was 3.5, it didn't come out. Second love was science, and very strong. And my wise old father, he said, "Look, you had a head start in music, and you're interested in science. If you go to don't go to Bronx Science, you'll never know. You go to music and art, you'll never know whether you should be an artist or a scientist." And it was a wonderful school. It is a wonderful school, and I'm so glad I went. Where my advisor said go to Oberlin. I said fine. So I applied to Oberlin, auditioned, and got in as a piano major, and I had to take a minor instrument, and I chose oboe, another one of my dad's loves. I've decided I wanted to be an orchestra conductor. I transferred. I wanted to study conducting, and Oberlin didn't offer a major at the time. So I said, well, I'll go to Juilliard. I was recommended to go to Juilliard, and a wonderful teacher, Jean Morel, French man, and I studied with him for 4 years. I played oboe in the orchestra, I played piano, and I went on a Fulbright to Hamburg, Germany, to study opera there. Spring break of senior year at Juilliard, I met the love of my life. I think I wrote about it, Jane, who was an English major. And She regrets not being here. She's okay, but she had some back pains and she had an epidural injection yesterday, and at night felt terrific, but this morning had some pains and felt that she couldn't make it. So she regrets and sends her best wishes to everybody. We were together since 1952 and married in 56, pinching ourselves all the time. After Oberlin and Juilliard, I spent a year in Hamburg with the German conductor Hans Schmidt-Isserstedt, that's hyphenated Schmidt-Isserstedt, whose recordings I knew. And he was a very good teacher. We remained friends for the rest of his life, and I lived to see him guest conduct the Cleveland Orchestra when I was assistant conductor of George Sell. So I spent 2 years at the U.S. Army at Fort Dix. And I eventually, after training, got into special services where we did all kinds of concerts, jazz and classical and choruses, and all kinds of programs. At the end of my Fulbright, I had the opportunity to be assistant conductor and pianist for the Jose Limon Modern Dance Company in a 16-week tour of Europe. The State Department in those days had a program of competitive program with the Soviet Union, exchanging artists and groups of arts. And the Limon Company every 3 years went on a tour, and I went as assistant conductor, pianist, and eventually conductor. Europe for 16 weeks in 1957. In 1960, it was South and Central America. In 1963, it was the Far East. During my military time, I saw in the bulletin of the American Symphony Orchestra League that George Sell was looking for apprentice conductors. And I saw the list of what you had to do to be successful, and worked on it for 6 months. And a year later, I got a telegram, call him up, and I did, and he said, if I were in a position to give you the apprenticeship for the Cleveland Orchestra next year, would you be in a position to accept? He never offered it to me, you see. He covered himself very well. I said, of course. And so one thing led to another. 4 years as apprentice conductor, and then the rest of my 5 years with him as assistant conductor of the Cleveland Orchestra, which I conducted concerts, opera, ballet, and children's concerts, which was wonderful. But the thing you had to do in children's concerts is talk to the audience, and that was more nerve-wracking than the conducting. So, and eventually, I had my own orchestra in Nashville, Tennessee. We actually did play in Opryland a few Pops concerts, but it was a decent symphony orchestra. And after that, I moved back to New York. I've been teaching at the Mannes School of Music, joined now with the new school, and semi-retired. I've been teaching part-time ever since. I have a class scheduled for the fall of this year, and I'll probably retire after that. So, by the way, wrote a biography of George Sell, published in 2011 by the University of Illinois Press, and in paperback in 2014. It's available online too. So it's a wonderful thing to see all of us, and I do look forward to, what is it going to be now, 80? We'll have to break 100 to get there, and I wish you all that blessing.